Hey, do you know the feeling when something completely unexpected sets you off, like a minor inconvenience pops up and suddenly it feels like the worst thing that ever happened and it completely derails you? And after crying or venting, or you feel like tearing your hair out, you wonder what actually happened, only to realize that you've been feeling completely overwhelmed and stressed and thinking that wasn't actually about that one little thing that set you off, like the insurance man telling you it can't fix your roof yet because there's so many others and it's not too bad. Right, no, that's just me. All right, so today I will share with you my 6 top self-care tips that I share and I do myself when I feel overwhelmed and I feel anxious. And it goes way beyond like going for a massage, which I love, or taking a walk. If you're a woman with many dreams and goals about life and business, you're at the right place here with me. Keep watching and please subscribe and hit the little bell too so you never miss my weekly content. My name is Suzanne McAllister and I help ambitious women to get the life and business of their dreams, to stop overthinking and anxious thinking, to figure out what's holding them back, all these blocks, and then to resolve them with my unstoppable coaching method. So then they can do the stuff they need to do, enjoy without the distractions and with ease. And then they can spend the time doing the things they love, like walking at the beach, doing self-care, doing massage, sitting in the sun and reading a book. But let me get back to you and maybe the things that have been happening in your life, right? Because it hasn't been normal in this world for a couple of years, has it? I feel like this stress on my shoulders and that stress on my clients' shoulders often. And then I really need to walk my talk and bring in the things. There's so many things to feel anxious and overwhelmed about right now. There is like the World War III threatening in Europe, where I am here in Australia, and that's where all my family is. We just had the floods, hence my little remark about my living room roof, because that is leaking. But I was so lucky, I had like the river in my living room, but I was still safe. I was dry. There's all these things that can stress you out. Other people and clients, comparing yourself in business, stressing yourself out, feeling that what's going on, all the stresses in your life. And that will bring your fight or flight response on, which is your prefrontal cortex. I always mix that one up. It keeps firing and firing and firing, which keeps you in overwhelm and stress. And you know what happens when we're overwhelmed and stressed? We don't function on our best performance. Our brain is not optimized, our thinking is not optimized, our actions are not optimized, and our feelings are all over the place. So that's kind of how it felt for a while now, right? And it might be a tiny personal mishap, but typically you take that in stride, or an awful news like event, like innocent people dying in a war. I mean, what's happening with that? Like, we're in 2022. Why can't we deal with our conflicts through talking? Or, things that might throw you off, like the death of a famous cricket player here in Australia that's exactly my age, or the open heart surgery of a really close friend. So these things can really set us off and bring bring us to this spiral where we then feel overwhelmed and so stressed that we're like, it's like treading in water, and we can often feel that we drown. So we're kind of getting emotionally pummeled, hit it over and over and over again, and that's exhausting. And if you've been feeling this way too, you're definitely not the only one, right? It's kind of the experience of living since 2022. So like for 2 years now, we're experiencing the cumulative effect of the pandemic, the war, the being in lockdowns, not being able to see people, the threat about like our health, our safety. And we're experiencing all of this simultaneously. Eckhart Tolle talks about the pain body that carries our accumulation of our fear and worry. Is like a dark cloud that's hanging over us. He's been talking about this for quite a while. It also seems to me that my clients are getting younger and younger when they should feel invincible in their teens, when they shouldn't have to worry about all of these things. But that's not like this anymore. Our youth are getting more sensitive and they want to change things. And they also get overwhelmed and they need new strategies and new tools. The things that might have worked for us when we were young doesn't work for our kids anymore now. And all of this has an impact on our brain and our ability to deal with stuff. So usually when we used to face a threat, we get scared, we get stressed, and then we go through the response, we react, and it happens, we calm down again, and that's it for a while. But our world has been on like this constant stress out for 2 years at least. So hopefully we've got some good coping strategies to get us through, but at the very least, we'll have to look at our self-care. And the threat eventually goes away, well, we hope, and our psychological stress response can reset back to our baseline. The difference here is, as I said, we haven't gotten a reset, but everything just keeps accumulating anyway. It just keeps one thing after the other, after the other, after the other, keeps happening. So it all makes sense, but it's also a grim picture. See, more than once, I kept thinking over the last 2 years, this is my breaking point. Did all the things, and more things kept coming. Death of people, serious illness, not being able to go somewhere when I wanted to go somewhere. So all of this. So I had to really walk my own talk and be really strategic about my weekly self-care and about my own, because I hire a coach, so I'm a therapist and I'm a coach and I help women get through these things. But of course I have my own coach and therapist and I apply all the things as well. So what can we do? Well, there are no easy things to make everything right, and I would love that for you. We can do a lot of small things to take care of ourselves in the moment, because otherwise it feels like we can't even come up for air. So hopefully some of the advice here can help, even if it's just by making you feel less alone. So I'm always here for you. I like you to comment on the videos. I like you to comment on the show notes. I love to hear from you, whatever it is. So number one is, I know, it's focusing on getting enough sleep. So our self-care, because when we're stressed out, when we're anxious, when we're overwhelmed, often our sleep really suffers. And my sleep has been, this is why I've got this Oura ring. This is why I've got all the strategies. And I just want to tell you a little bit of the strategies that I help. It's been really hard for me. I've been working on this for a long time. Actually, this week for the first time, I had 8.5 hours sleep, because I've been doing this 3-day water fast. Well, I was on tea and I did have a little bit of coffee and I did have some green tea. But yeah, I'm actually on day 4 of this fast right now that I was supposed to break this morning, but I just feel so good and so full of so much energy. And that's thanks to my friend Aaron that inspired me to do this. So I felt like I wasn't alone in this, and he was doing it and I was doing it, and I was sending some messages and he was messaging back, which was really good. So if you're going to prioritize the one traditional self-care strategy right now, get some sleep. It may seem like a small thing, but it impacts so much more. The less sleep we get, the more hypersensitive we are to the threats that are all around us. We get more anxious. We view things more negatively. It's all in our evolutionary response, because back in the cave dwelling times, if you're sluggish and tired and you had no energy, you would be the one that got everybody eaten if you were on guard. Otherwise, you got eaten if you're not on guard. All right, no, if there's somebody on guard. Well, you know what I mean. All right, so if you're not getting enough sleep, your body will view everything as a threat to protect you. So you get hypersensitive. And of course, there's a good chance the stress and anxiety of everything is interrupting your sleep right now. So prioritizing your sleep isn't exactly easy. I know that. But it's worth putting in the extra effort to make sure your sleep is as protected as possible, whether that's through adjusting your screen time or doubling down on pre-bed relaxation exercises or talking to your coach or even talking to your doctor about it, which steps you can take. Sometimes we need that prescribed melatonin for 3 months to reset our sleep pattern. So my top tips on this are like no electronics in your bedroom, no TV in your bedroom, do not take the laptop into your bed. And yes, I'm very guilty of that. And a fixed bedtime, so where you can really, even in bed, think about, it takes me like an hour to go to sleep. So I know, like, if I get up like at 6, I need to, and I know it takes me an hour to fall asleep, I need to schedule in for that. And no screen time, an hour. I never stick to that, but I do stick to like 30 minutes beforehand. And make your bedroom your sanctuary. Have nice bamboo or silk sheets, no clutter in your bedroom, no work desk in your bedroom, blackout curtains, because the ideal sleeping temperature is 21 degrees Celsius. So yeah, if you have to have the aircon on, this is like Australia at the minute. It's been so humid. Blackout curtains, noise reductions, and I have these CBD gums, and they have been really my savior. Number 2 is about I've been started the Distorted Thinking series. If you go back into my videos, so my second tip is don't beat yourself up about the shoulds and how you shouldn't feel, how the world should be. This shouldn't happen. Like, I catch myself with that as well. Like, we shouldn't have war in 2022 at all. Like, what's wrong with us that we keep learning? But that doesn't help anybody, right? So there's a lot of talk about how we should be feeling and how we shouldn't be feeling. But mostly it's our own judgment. So stop shooting on yourself. It's like permanently having a rock in your shoe and walking with it. So I shouldn't be doing this, I should be doing this. And yeah, sure, you might get used to it being there, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't still hurt every time you walk. So give yourself a break. If you find yourself thinking, why do I still feel so bad? Shouldn't I have been this under control by now? I mean, come on, I'm like the therapist. I'm like the anxiety specialist. And I get overwhelmed and anxious at times where I have to really, sit back, do my self-care, do my own coaching. I do a lot of self-coaching. So more than that, if you find yourself reacting to things in a way you wouldn't normally, remind yourself that things aren't normal right now. They haven't been normal for 2 years now. And that can wear anybody down. All right, so because when your reserves are depleted, you don't have anything more to give. And then even a bit of bad news that normally wouldn't throw you, it feels like a big crisis level threat. All right. Number 3 is to interrupt that catastrophe thinking. It's typically defined by therapists such as me as worst case scenario. Think worrying that everything will happen, like little things will happen. So you go out with the car and you're like scared you're going to crash. Like if your daughter hasn't texted you back in 2 days, that's my catastrophe. Oh my God, there's something wrong. Thank God she has a roomie that does Snapchats that way I can see her in the background and I think she's fine, before I would like hunt her down and jump on the next plane to Melbourne and make sure she's okay, or before I like call on the phone and yell at her like how freaked out I am and how inconsiderate she is, not talking to me for days on end. So I have to like bring myself back there and deal with this, because it's in my own thinking, right? I don't have any evidence that she's not fine. Thing is, so through these turbulent time that we're going at the moment, especially with a war being in Europe, like I've got my family there, it's like it's way closer to home than it's ever been. Then some catastrophe thinking doesn't feel so catastrophic anymore, does it? Since a lot of common tools to battle these things might not be helpful right now, like fact checking, like, oh, how many people, like, have died in wars in the last, like all of these things, like looking at the news, thinking what's going on. Like I'm avoiding the news because I know, like, I've asked people, so what's going on? Or I like just get a little update on an app, then I read it and then I'm informed. When I reinforce the news over and over and over again, I feel more overwhelmed and anxious and helpless and hopeless. So notice when your thoughts start to snowball and say, all right, I'm spiraling. Whew, it's time to redirect myself. Maybe I'll have to, my secret thing is like vampire romance, trashy fiction. That's how I listen to this. I go for a walk, I'll take the dog for a walk at the beach, and I'll listen to this. I'll call a friend or I'll book my next coaching session in. Number 4 is being in the here and now with mindfulness, taking things one day at a time. And sometimes it's really just one moment at a time, 1 hour at a time, one thought at a time, really staying with my breath. So it might be, speaking of catastrophic thinking, might be in your best interest to focus more on the present than the future right now, being in the here and being in the now, because our anxiety and overwhelm often comes when we're in the past or when we're in the present. And I know it's easier said than done, I know, but with so much uncertainty in the world still, trying to imagine all of this and going with this is a recipe for spinning out. Like, I do really want to take all my family from Germany and from Ireland and just bring them all here to Australia, because I think I can't be there. So that's where my brain goes. So that's why I do every morning. I start to meditate. That's how I start. I have and I pray and I meditate and I look at the things that I can do. All right. So that's exactly it. So looking at the things that you can control, what are the things that are in your control and what are the things that you can't control. So make a plan to do something about the things that you can do. So I can talk to my family and reassure them. I can make sure I speak to them every day. I can invite them to come and stay with me, which I've done. So then it's up to them if they want to do something like that. I can donate to research. I can donate to a cause that might stop all of the craziness going in the world. And one of the things I do, as I say, every morning, I pray and I send healing into the ether, and I visualize peace on earth, and I visualize my loved ones surrounded by light and love and peace, and that they're safe. I do that instead of dark and worrying vibes that I used to send out all the time. So as soon as I catch myself, I reframe this and I'm like, they're safe, they're safe. All right. So I actually have a free meditation for you linked in the show notes, where you can meditate with me and to my voice every day. So I meditate with myself in the mornings, every morning, and I breathe in and out, full belly breathing, which you can get, not just here where you breathe from here and you're like, really deep belly breathing until I feel better. That keeps me from spiraling out. All that said, taking one day at a time doesn't have to be about taking action. Maybe today all you focus on is getting through the best that you can. And my self-care tip number 5 is distractions are totally okay sometimes. So distracting yourself with booking yourself that massage, distracting yourself, and I'm not saying binge watch Netflix till 3 in the morning. Yeah, okay, I know I'm guilty. I'm guilty about that because they do make them really good with the cliffhangers where you're like, oh my God, I need to know. Yeah, but sometimes you just need to turn off the news and pretend everything's okay. There's often a lot of guilt around distracting yourself from the many troubles of the world, because it can feel like that you're being disengaged or being complicit. But that's not like that. You can work on your business, you can work on your goals, you can do all the things that you want to do. But then sometimes it's good to, schedule a little bit of distraction in there. So it's time to use all the coping tools in your toolbox and distraction is sometimes one of them. Having a dark sense of humor and yeah, whatever it is that you need to do. It's okay also to shut off the phone and shut off the TV. Take out some board games and call up your friends and do like a crazy, games night, or a retreat. Next weekend, I'm like going to this retreat. We had this retreat house. It's called Melt into March. I'm so grateful that my friend Rebecca is doing this every year, because I like rock up there and it's just like, whew, it's the most amazing place, the most amazing women, and there's no pressure. Like, we all sort out food, everything gets done. It's so good. All right. So just don't ignore what's going on to the point of delusion or ignorance. As long as you practice self-care in other ways too, you can give yourself permission to turn off your brain sometimes. Put on a funny movie, laugh your head off, like borrow a dog, cuddle your dog, book yourself a writing lesson, whatever you need to do. Make sure you turn back on when it matters though. And also give yourself like some space to process what's going on in the world. Really scheduling that you time, and surround yourself with like-minded, high-vibing people around yourself. So I have this thing, I think I've spoken about it before, where I date myself. So I'm going on a date with myself. So every weekend I do that, and it might be I might take a book and I sit at the beach. And I say that, and I really haven't done it in weeks. So catch me out and ask me if I've done it in the comments. And I would love to hear in the comments if you've done that. Did you date yourself, and what did you do? I can book myself a ticket for a show that I want to go through, and I don't want to rally everybody up. Do you want to go there with me? Because I'd be too scared to go on my own. I went to this cruise thing, like to this Valentine's cruise in Melbourne by myself. It was like a 3-hour cruise all around the harbour, and it was really nice. Made like a couple of new friends. It was so nice. So it might be where you take your book and you go somewhere in a nice cafe and you sit back, or you go to a show, or book yourself in some time for some journaling. Block yourself some time out, and it always helps. Self-care is so much better when you do it out in nature, when you go for a hike and go for a walk and hug that tree and look at the miracle. Like, nature revitalizes and rejuvenates itself. So even in the most destructive things, when we go like in the forest and we see like how this tree has been taken down by, like thunder and lightning, and then we see like this new life sprouting. So balance is so important, and watch out how you talk to yourself. Do you talk to yourself like you talk to your best friend? So I hope you enjoyed my video, and if you like to spend a few moments in the mornings with me, have some mindfulness, just click on the link below and meditate with me in the mornings. I'll send it to your inbox straight now. I see you next week. Have a beautiful, beautiful day.